Hello, everybody. Dear guests, alumni, and colleagues, we wish you a warm welcome to the first in a series of webinars where we will talk about family business. I'm Ljiljana Babić, and I will be the moderator of today's webinar. Christmas and New Year are coming soon, so this is a great opportunity to dedicate this webinar to families who have their own businesses, since they are covering significant percentage in entrepreneurial businesses in Southeast Europe. The webinar, A Family in Business Unique Business Model, is going to be held by Professor Dr. Andrej Vizjak. Andrej has leadership experience at the highest management level in multinational companies. He is the author of 25 books. As a CEO at AV Consulting, today he's focusing his tremendous experience in consultancy on international strategies and organization, family-owned companies, change management. Today, during this webinar, we will talk what makes a family business so unique, and we will introduce you to the advantages and disadvantages compared to the other types of companies. We would very much like to make this event as interactive as possible, since this topic is very familiar to everyone. So after Andrej's approximately 40-minute presentation, we'd love to hear from you, your thoughts, your comments, opinions, questions, and so on. I don't want to keep you anymore. I'd like to give a stage and the screen to Professor Andrej. Andrej, please, you can start when you are ready.
Okay, so I'm ready. Thank you for the introduction, Ljiljana. Maybe first my words in your language. So, hvala da ste došli. Neki od vas se me još sjećate. Some of you still remember me. I used to be a professor at Kotruli for strategic direction, and we had very interesting discussions in Rovinj, in Belgrade, and in some other locations. I hope this topic is for you relevant because you own now your own businesses already. So I think this is the good thing with a good business school. You get entrepreneur and you build your own business by yourself. So for me, in the last few years, that was an important topic as well. With my wife Sonia, we established also our own family business, AV Consulting, based in Dubai. We still work in Southeast Europe, but also in Germany and also in other countries. So the experience from this work, but also from the research, I will share with you in this series. Now I share the screen with you and we go to a short presentation, like Ljiljana said, 40 minutes. Okay, so I will cover 4 topics. So the first topic will be to show you some numbers about the importance of family businesses. Then to highlight some strengths and weaknesses of family businesses. And then I will introduce you to a model which we developed at the Hochschule St. Gallen in Switzerland, together with my colleague Patrick Ole, who is the head of the HIP baby food group there and also professor at the St. Gallen University. And this is a unique model how to improve family businesses across not only the German-speaking region, but across the globe. The outlook for the next 5 webinars, that was the plan we had with Ljiljana, will be our joint topic. So please, when you listen, try to find questions for today, but also try to find topics which we can discuss in following webinars. So Ljiljana, for the introduction, well understandable, you can see the slide. Okay, if nothing is wrong, then it's okay. So some numbers I promised to you. Who of you knew that Volkswagen is a family-owned business? So the largest producer of cars in the world, together with Toyota, all the time ranked #1 and #2. It's owned by Porsche and Pierre families. 2.7 million employees have all those companies here on the list together. So the Lidl retail chain is owned by family Schwarz. Bosch, the supplier of automotive, is owned by Foch family. Fresenius, a pharmaceutical company, by Kröner. Metro, the biggest giant in the cash and carry retail, it's owned by 4 families, but managed as a family-owned business. Continental, the tire manufacturer, by Schaeffler. Tengelmann, the big German retail company, by Haupt. Aldi, which is known in Slovenia as Hofer, it's owned by Albrecht family. BMW, the car manufacturer, is owned by Quant. Bertelsmann, which in Croatia has the RTL television, it's owned by a family Mohn. So these are the 10 largest family-owned companies. They together have 743 billion euro, and these are only the top 10 German largest. You can look in France, in Italy, in Spain, so you will find big companies there. What is interesting in Germany is here that the biggest companies have been founded in 1903. So this is now 120 years ago, and around 4th generation of owners is managing this company. It is family owned, but some 60% of those companies have also stock at the stock exchange. Only 10% of these family-owned companies are managed by the family, so 90% have already professional management. If we look further, the next group is the German top 30. You will see that the number of employees increases, so 3.8 million of employees in those top 30. 926 billion euro revenues of the top 30, and similar year of foundation, 1907. Again, 4th generation in managing these. And only 30% here are listed at stock exchange. So 10 out of the top 30 are listed with stock at the stock exchange. All others are owned 100% by families. And here already 43% of those top 30 are managed by the owner family. Now you will say why we in Southeast Eastern Europe bother about the German family owned, because the difference in the generation. So those companies have something in common which they practice for 100 years, what the younger economies are now trying to learn. So I give you one example of a younger economy. It's Slovenia, my country where I'm a citizen of. I'm a Slovene born in Ljubljana. So the number of employees in the top 30 Slovenian companies, only 10,000 employees. The total annual sales is only 2 billion. And the average year of foundation, you see, 1995. So after Yugoslavia broke, Slovenia started with this entrepreneurship, and some, I would say, family-owned companies appeared. So the generation of owner family in Slovenia on average is 1.3. No one of them is listed as stock exchange, and they are 100% managed by owner family. And this is the big difference. I don't know if Mr. Amar from Management Partners, you joined the webinar as well. Okay, maybe you will join later.
Check, he's not here yet.
Okay, maybe we'll ask him the question later. But you can hear, and the slides are visible. Yeah, it's all okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's visible. It's okay. Everything is fine.
So this comparison, Slovenia, Germany, I will continue so that you see the difference of experience, also the gap between the German family-owned companies and the family-owned companies in younger economies, such as Croatia, Serbia, even Bulgaria. So in Slovenia, you see that these businesses are structured in large businesses, so with 250 or more employees, with medium-sized businesses, 50 to 249 employees, smaller businesses, and then the micro businesses with less than 10 employees. You see only 17 companies, 5% of all companies are the large companies. And then already the next 13 out of the 30 come in the medium size. So in this medium size category, already 95% of all companies are family owned. And this same ratio goes down to smaller businesses and micro businesses. So overall in Slovenia, you have around 70,000 family businesses, and it's a very relevant economic phenomena, and management of those businesses is very important. If you compare the scale of companies in Germany and Slovenia, you see this huge difference. So I took now here the revenue of the top 2,000 family businesses. And in Germany, the average revenue is 2.2 billion, or in a sum, it is 2,200 billion for the top 2,000. Yeah. And in Slovenia is 22 billion for the top 2,000. So 100 times bigger on average the companies in Germany. So this is 1.1 billion multiplied with 2,000, you get this number here. And the average of the top 2,000 Slovenia is only 11 million euro revenues. If you multiply with 2,000 businesses, you get 22 billion here. This difference is even bigger than the difference of the GDP between Germany and Slovenia. So if you multiply 83 million population in Germany with 41,000 euro GDP per capita, you get this GDP in 3,500 billion in Germany. And if you multiply the 2 million population of Slovenia with 23,000 euro GDP per capita, you get the 47 billion. Now, why do we make this comparison? Because the phenomena of family-owned business is so strong that it drives the GDP. And that we can see on the next slide. So the annual revenue growth of top 2,000 family businesses in Germany is 2.8%, and in Slovenia 5%. So the growth rate of the Slovenian family companies is faster. And if we see this, between 2013 and 2018, also the GDP per capita growth in Slovenia was faster. So you see 1.4 compared to Slovenia, 3.5% per year. If we would be able to increase the growth rate of Slovene family-owned companies from 5 to 20%, Slovenia as a country would achieve the GDP per capita level of Germany in 2048. So with this current generation of management of family-owned companies, this could be made. What, for example, 20 years ago looked impossible, that a country from ex-Yugoslavia could reach the GDP per capita level of Germany. So this is possible, and that was the topic which I started 5 years ago with my company. I wrote a book, Become the First in the World. It was also translated into Slovene. You can order this if you want in this webpage, postanete1.si, or the English on the webpage www.andrejs.com. So here is a methodology how as a smaller company you can grow, you can fight against the largest, and you can be successful achieving 20% or even higher growth rates. So these are the statistics that you see how important are family-owned businesses, so they can drive a total economy, and how in Germany the strong economy has been built by them. Like this, it can be built also in Southeast European countries. Now the second chapter is the strengths and weaknesses. So I was talking to bankers, how they judge, and they say, okay, immediately when they see a family-owned business, they would give it a lower credibility ranking, a lower credit ranking, because the risks of a family-owned business is higher than of an institutional business, which has much more regulation and much more compliance. So that's why I would say there are some huge weaknesses. On the other side, there are huge strengths, because the real entrepreneurship, it comes from the family-owned entrepreneurs. And these two things I tried to summarize for you. So if we talk about typical strengths of family businesses, you see here some of them. There are many others, but I highlighted 7. So the first strength is the excellent management competencies in the first generation. So if the founder is able to build a business which survives 20, 30 years in the market, he must have good competencies, because making something from zero to something, this is a huge, huge task. The second is the commitment to business and family. So this is, I would say, the life of some families is the business. And I'm working closely with some families, and they talk also at home in the evenings, on weekends. They talk about business. They bring me home to their house. I can have dinner with them because business is for them home, and vice versa. The third topic is clear ownership structures and goals of the company. So if you have a family as an owner, at least in the first generation, they are very clear on what they want to achieve and what they want to invest. A lot of knowledge that is passed on to young people. So usually there is a passion that the parents want to teach their children, and if they have their own business, they want to teach them about their own business. The fifth is stable culture and employee loyalty. You can see many companies, especially in Germany, where they exist for many years, where children of employees are grown up in those companies, they make their education there, and that they stay there for 30, 40 years until they retire. Quick decision making, because the owner often is also the CEO and the main decision maker. And the flexibility in time, work, and money. So there are no weekends, no evenings, no mornings. So these companies really work around the clock. I added one thing because it is kind of positive and negative. Usually, those owners of family-owned companies who run the company by themselves, they have an autocratic leadership style. Their money, they decide, they have all the responsibility. So they will also try to decide smaller things, which on the next page are also the negative parts of autocratic leadership style. But first, to other typical weaknesses of family businesses. So if the first generation was very good competences, we often see that on the second generation and in the future generation, there's a lack of managerial competences. Sometimes because the children of the founders, they had already a very comfortable life, a lot of money, and they did not want to study so much, to work so hard. But sometimes also because they are in the shadow of their strong parent or their strong father, usually, who is running the business, and which is also not easy for those children who want to make their own business career, their own life, but the fathers or the parents, they are dominant. The second thing which is negative is the nepotism. So family members, they have advantages. And if there are employed professionals in the company and always only family members are promoted, then you can imagine that this is not good for the motivation of other professionals in this company. The third, making decisions in accordance with family rather than business policies and interests. So it's not only economic reasons for some things. Sometimes it happens. So like with me, I was senior executive in Bertelsmann, the 10th largest German family-owned business. And we had one business there, which was Book Club, which until the founder of this business, Mr. Mohn, was alive, we had to keep it. Although the business model after Amazon.com came was too old, it was not competitive anymore, it was impossible to discuss about closing this business as long as the owner was there, because it was his baby. The fourth is emotional impacts on businesses. So imagine if 10 or 20 members of a family, they are working in the same business, and then they get a dispute, they get a conflict on a private level. It cannot stop on the private. It will be in the business, and it has a negative impact. Sometimes also the distrust. So also for me as an external consultant, it takes very long that the family would accept me. And if it accepts, then I have to put a lot of energy there because they would expect me to be there when they need me, to behave like a member of the family. And this is really, I would say, taking a lot of impact, a lot of time. Same with professional managers. They are not hiring professional managers, but if they hire, they expect them that they behave like family members, and they would invest all the time, all the professional time, but also a lot of private times into this work. The sixth is unclear organization and lack of formal division of roles, responsibilities, and accountability. For everything, the owner is relevant. You can negotiate with a family-owned company, but then in the end, if the owner said it was a bad deal, you have to negotiate again. And the last one I mentioned here is restraint in introducing changes. So if there was a model which was successful where the founder believes it is a good model, they will have a problem to change this model because nobody in the company will have the strength to start the discussion with the owner. And here again, I make the autocratic leadership style, which I see often as also a weakness of family businesses, because many of those family owners or family business owners, they are autocratic. To highlight this a little bit more in detail, so it has some advantages, the autocratic leadership style, but also disadvantages. So on the one side, autocratic leadership style gives you a fast decision. On the other side, it creates a system of dependence on the leader. It gives you clear direct commands. On the other side, poor empowerment and ownership of subordinates. There is quick communication, but there is also a system built on mistrust, because the owner will cross-check everything, and it is sometimes not this environment where people feel comfortable. Effective handling of crisis, because there is one person usually who can decide. On the other side, the work culture is based solely on the ethics and morality of the leader. And if this is not clean, then this company has compliance issues. The advantages of autocratic leadership that there are clear expectations, but on the other side, there is always a basic assumption that subordinates are not meeting expectations, and this you will see very often in the family-owned companies. The family company leader, he will give very specific instruction, which is good, especially if he's leading an unexperienced team. But on the other side, many professionals will see this as micromanagement, which is a disadvantage. So these are only a few, I would say, words about the general topics of family-owned companies. I just give you an easy model how to work with this. So there are some levers how you build a positive atmosphere, and how also family-owned companies and the leader of family-owned companies can be trained to leverage better the positive atmosphere and to improve. First is the trust, building trust. Second is respect. So building respect to everybody in the company, and that there is no suspicion, no hostility. Collegiality, so that there is not only the competition who is close to the owner and the decision maker, but that also people start on the working level to be collegial, and that there is no competition between them. Honesty, constructiveness, diversity, so employees sincerely express their values. In many family-owned companies, you will have the situation that the employees will say what they think that the owner would like to hear, and the optimism. So that there is a common vision, forward-looking, that people understand what is going on, and that there is no cynicism, pessimism, which can be strongly influenced by the owners with their role model. The other type of the coin is the productive atmosphere. So you can build unity and you will achieve more productivity than if you separate people. Coherence of objectives. So here, a common understanding is important. Rewards important, linked to goals, which is not always like this, because many family-owned businesses, they hide their real profits, so people don't know when the company is going good or bad. Then definition of responsibilities. So not only that the owners decide, but that there are others in the organization which are having roles and responsibilities and have some strong influence. Proactivities, so that people start to change and they have the right to change. Determination, availability of resources, so that people can budget and not that the owner says that is how you have to work and that the resources you get. and team leaderships, so that you have to build teams and not only egos, which are then admired by the owner's family. So these are a few levers how we can work on those, I would say, soft factors. For today, it's Christmas time, we only discuss the soft factors, but there are also a lot of harder factors, how you can develop a family business. And these harder factors I summarized in a model. So Liliana, you are watching on my time. How much time do I have now to introduce my model?
Sorry for this. You have around 10 minutes to go.
10 minutes. So before I start with the model, are there any questions of understanding about the strengths, weaknesses before we come to a new topics? Is there anything you don't share, or you think it is wrong, or you have a different opinion?
Yeah, please join us in discussion. You can share your thoughts, comments, ask questions. We can do this in two ways. You can, if you like to be live, to share your comments live with us, you can do this by raising your hand. And also you can, in the section Q&A, you can write your questions, so we will answer. So please, during this Andrej's presentation, you're allowed to write your questions in Q&A session. I see here in the participant list that I have also friends coming from family businesses joining us. Welcome, guys. Also, we have our guests that I also know that they are owning their businesses. If the English language is the barrier, please, you can write in Serbian, Slovenian, Macedonian, so Bulgarian. You're welcome to join us and to make this session interactive.
Are there any questions now on the table, or
not for now? I will inform you. Okay, here we are. Sorry. Is there anywhere where we can download the synopsis?
Oh, I will share with you the slides and you can distribute, okay?
Yeah, after the event, all guests will receive follow-up email with the presentation attached.
Okay. So now let's...
Excellent work, Andrej. Proud to have you with us.
Okay, thank you.
Another comment? Okay. More. This is it. Now you can continue, and then I will inform you if you have more questions.
Thank you for the good words. Gives motivation for the next chapter. So, as I said, we developed this model based on the experience of several German, Swiss, and Austrian companies. And now I'm leveraging this also internationally, because from that experience, from the 4 generations of those companies, many younger economies can learn. So this model has 5 stages. I see them as breakthroughs. So not performance is the only breakthrough. So you see the first breakthrough is transparency. And those breakthroughs are always triggered not only by external challenges from the markets, but also from internal challenges within the company, because usually the companies grow through this curve. And the bigger a company, the more internal challenges it becomes because of the complexity. So the first issue is transparency, which has a first breakthrough. So usually the real number of business performance, of different things is only seen by the family owners. But how can you manage external partners, employees, if they are not part of this game, if they don't understand what is going on? The second one is compliance. It comes before performance. So the small family owners, they always look, is it really necessary to pay taxes? So if they have to pay taxes, then they try already in the transparency section to minimize the profits. How do you minimize the profits? By increasing some cost positions. And then the whole compliance topics become already weird. But this is not only the only reason. There are also other things, because the family owners, they decide and they want to produce a new product, but they don't go through the normal processes, which was, or they want to hire a relative, and then they don't go through this process. So I will specify some examples of these compliance issues. On the third, performance. So if you make a statistics, usually we will find that companies which are on the stock exchange and owned by multiple shareholders or private equity companies, they will have a higher performance because they are managed more strongly from the advisory board. And family-owned companies, they have other interests usually, and then they are not looking so much for the performance. So that's why this is a breakthrough also for family-owned companies, because without performance, they cannot exist long in the markets. The next stage, only on stage 4, is the strategy. So very rarely family-owned companies have a written strategy which is shared and aligned with many people. So usually the strategy is in the stomach of the owner, and this is then the basis for decisions. And the fifth breakthrough, which I would say is not so important the first generation, but it becomes more important in the next generation, where there are many family owners, many members there, they have to find decisions, is the whole governance section, which becomes usually the biggest barrier for growth of family-owned companies, and sometimes it is not solved, and then these companies are sold because the family has some disputes or challenges within there and conflicts. If we go in some details of this, some examples of transparency issues which we solved during our consulting projects, and I also described in my newest book on family-owned companies. So the first one is the ownership structure. So in many, many companies, ownership structure is not so clear. There are multiple companies, legal entities. They are not so transparent which owns which and who are the shareholders of which. And this is difficult because if you want to work with banks, with external partners, they will know, want to know what is the clear ownership, who is responsible in the end. Similarly with the liabilities. So if you want to have a credit rating, you have to be clear on the liabilities. But if you have a complex structure of different legal entities, the liabilities are not so clear, the trust of the markets will be smaller. Then the whole liquidity topics, there are many private accounts, business accounts, they are mixed. So the liquidity is an important factor for business. And if you are not making it transparent, if you are not managing it, so it can become a hurdle. Out of the tax reason, I already told about the profit, which is seldom in family-owned companies, especially in Southeast Europe, the real profit which is achieved. And you have here connected to this also the cost. Usually you will find very, very simple cost systems. The owner knows about every bill, but he does not know about the big picture. And there's seldom a good statistics of the cost. So the management of the cost is not on the highest level. Although they are not spending much, they spend more because they don't have the transparency. Customers, so usually customers have a direct contact with the owners, and yeah, if the owners are not available, if other people have to work with customers, so there is not clear how these relationships are. Modern CRM system, they are not so often used by family-owned companies. The whole product statistics, which is important to understand new products, new development, the cost of individual products. If the companies are simply managed, so these systems are also not available. Also with the suppliers, usually the family-owned owner or the manager, he would like to negotiate with the big deals. But if you have 1,000 suppliers, how can one person then oversee everything? On the other side, he does not want to show all the discounts which he gets. And again, it is a bottleneck issue. So the purchasing department, it sees some numbers, but it does not see the final number. How can they compare the prices? Also some statistic of employees, which are usually done already the normal transparency of HR issues. So in professionally managed companies, usually you expect a semi-annual and an annual meeting with your boss. In family-owned companies, this is substituted by the meeting with the owner, but the owner has no time to speak with 1,000 people. How will this manage? So that's why this is usually an issue. And the whole of the system.
Can I interrupt you a little bit when we are talking about HR? We have a question from our guests. She's an HR expert, Olivera Zdravkovic. She's asking, if we are starting from the scratch, just founding a family business, should we let it go, develop naturally, or should we try to build a corporate organization style from the beginning?
So I would say the companies which are micro companies, smaller than 10 people, you don't need to bureaucratize. But if you pass 100 people, I would say already here, you need a kind of HR process with what I said, annual meeting with people, understanding what they want, having some incentive system. So I would say I would make it depend on the size. So with 10 people, it can be still pragmatic. With 100, it's already difficult. With 1,000, imagine. With 1,000, you need a normal system like every corporation. Yeah?
Okay, thank you, Andrej. We can continue.
The decisions are usually in family-owned companies intransparent. And if you're an external partner, you will request to speak with the owner because other people will not be reliable, because if the owner says different, then the decision is clear that it will go different. So this is the first, I would say, topic people would not expect, but it's an important topic of family-owned companies. The next one is compliance. Compliance to vision, to values, which might change with the mood of the family owner. Ethical codex usually is not so transparent, so the family build their own ethical system. Tax, I mentioned. Quality standards, okay, if the market requests, yes, but sometimes there are additional requests. And you have all these processes: purchasing, investment, production, R&D, sales, and HR, which usually in family-owned companies are not so defined, and then they cannot comply. For example, investment process, if the owner likes machines, he will buy, if there is a payback or not. And this is again the normal logic, yeah? So that's why in this area of compliance, you need processes first and then to comply with them. And even the owner who likes the machine, it should have to be defined, analyzed, and proposed, and then decided. Performance is the next issue. So digitalization is, in many words, before Corona, it was the main work. But here are also other performance issues. Growth benchmarking. Usually they're not looking outside with other companies. Growth segments are not seen or not followed quickly enough. Decline segments are kept, like I said before, the book club example. Acquisitions are hardly done by family-owned companies. They are very, very risk averse often for this. Also profitability benchmarking, because if they don't manage their own profitability in this transparent way, how can they compare with others? Also capital turn. Sometimes they like buildings, they will build, they will have own land, own buildings, but the capital turn will be maybe worse than competition. Strategic purchasing is replaced by one-to-one contacts of the owner. Overhead benchmarking usually is not done. They just say, we don't need this department, we don't need this department, and then they try to do everything alone. But sometimes you need to say, okay, for this type of work, we need so much working time. So for this, we need people. And also agile organization. So they are agile on the family level, but agile organization says that you are agile on lower levels as well, which is usually not managed as a concept in family-owned companies. The whole topic of strategy is, I would say, not covered. Many family-owned companies don't have a written strategy. It's in the stomach. So for this, I propose to have a separate session, how to define a strategy for a family-owned company. And then the whole governance question. So like a country, also a family needs a constitution. Many of German companies have it already. Many companies in Southeast Europe don't have it, and that there are conflicts. Management boards are not held. There are not enough leadership competence, as I said. Succession planning is not implemented. Finance function is not existing. So usually the mother of the owner is the finance manager, and when she dies, then the wife of the owner is the finance manager. I saw this very often. Controlling function is not there. HR function is not there. Legal function is not there. Audit function is not there. And finance will grow only from internal own capital, which is also limiting the growth potential. So these are, I would say, some topics. which we covered with my wife in our book, Formule uspeha za družinska podjetja, so success formula for family-owned companies. You can also order this book on mcap.c. So far, it's only in Slovene language, but I hope there will be also an English translation soon. Okay, so I promised you to have more webinars. And now the topics of the last 20 minutes with Liliana is that you tell us what you want to know.
Yeah, we would like to engage you in the discussion, to ask us your question, to share with us your comments, thoughts, experiences. Also, Andrej here with us is your colleague Amar Shubar. You can also, maybe to break the ice, we can start also to hear his comments and his experiences from the business. Let me start first of all to break the ice. We as a family, we have a family business. Actually, my husband, 15 years ago, he started open a dentist. He's a dentist, and he has his own dental office with two chairs, planning to open one more. Today, after these 15 years, he has more than 3,000 patients. He's almost 50 years old, trying to find who is going to be his right successor. And this is now his major concerns. And what will happen with the business after 20, 30 years? Who will be his main successor, and how to choose the right successor if we don't have a family member? So this is like our main concerns.
Okay, Liliana, we vote. If we make a webinar on the succession of family-owned company, is this a topic which you would be interested to discuss with us?
Yeah, I think that a good idea for the next webinar could be how to criteria for choosing the right successor, not only within the family members, but who will continue the business. Also, regards from Dražen Kapusta, regards from Marija Tešić. Thank you very much for the great presentation. We have a question also from Maria. What is the crucial moment in a family business?
So I think what you mentioned here, succession, that is the crucial moment, because the founder, he runs the business, and everybody everybody admires him and accepts. But then the next generation, they have to prove the trust, and there are often many candidates, not only the oldest son, but there are other people who could run, and then some conflicts can start. So I think this is the crucial moment. The succession is very often a very open question. So that's why I propose for the next webinar to have this as a topics. Maybe we ask also Amar. Amar is from Dubai. Maybe from your Dubai point of view, it's also younger economy. What is a topic which is interesting in Dubai on the family business?
Andrej, I don't see Amar anymore.
I'm still there. Hi, Andrej. Thank you very much. Sorry, I was just on mute. So I think from, let's say, a regional perspective, especially since a number of family offices or family businesses run as conglomerative, it's basically with the corona crisis to look in terms of which of the business activities and investments are basically going to be sustainable over the next 2 years, 3 years. And so there's basically an overall portfolio management required for their investments. So that, I think, is one point. The other point might be related to corporatization and governance structure. So a lot of the family businesses, there's, let's say, a gray area between what is under a holding structure and what is owned privately. And I think to basically define a clear setup in terms of asset ownership and management in context with the succession plan is very important in order to make sure that basically what is held in terms of the underlying assets are then in terms of basically anything happened to the founder are then transferred to the business and are not basically distributed then out of the business because they were still registered under, let's say, land or certain real estate assets registered under the personal investment of the founder.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, any other suggestions? So it's Christmas time and we want to have a wish list so we can be flexible to your needs and your open issues, which should be shared by more than one person, but anyway, relevant for you.
We have one more question, Andrej. Some guidelines for successors on how to continue business successfully.
Yes, so I would say the model which I showed you, transparency, compliance, performance, strategy, governance. So these 5 topics, this is, I would say, especially important for the successor because the founder, he does this intuitively and he builds a system, which is his own system. And when you succeed, then you need to build further this system and then better that you build on the experience of other companies, which are described in this model. So that's why I would say we will touch it already with the succession planning by criteria you need to have, the skills you need to run your business, but we will touch also when we go through the model and describe different steps of the model.
Any other thoughts, questions? Please, whatever, maybe about the authorities, decision-making, any questions about the strategy, planning, internationalization of family businesses. So these are the scenarios that we are facing a lot when we are holding our own businesses. Education.
Okay. So is Dražen still in the call?
Yeah, Dražen is here with us.
Okay, Dražen, you have a family business. This is truly. So what is your major issue?
Dražen, are you here with us? Let me just see. Dear Dražen, you can either write your question or comment.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I have a lot of things on my mind, you know. Basically, I need to know everything, you know. I don't have like just Kotruli. I have this larger business now, and I have all the issues what you mentioned in my head what need to be resolved, you know, because I'm like in the same age, like 54 something, and I know I will not be able to do it forever, you know, and I have daughters and I want them to be able to continue this work and path, you know, so it will be like, it's not easy for me, and that's why we talk about this series of seminars. I have me on my mind, but like from 2000 alumni, we have a lot of them owning family business, and they are not maybe aware of the requirements of the future they will face. And I am quite aware. Everything what you say is right, you know, and everything need to be done, and that's why we need the best people, and you are the best one I know, and I just wish that more people be aware of that, you know, how serious this issue is for everybody who own a family business successfully. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dražen, for your comments and thoughts. Anybody else, or we can slowly close this family event. Any more questions? Okay, any your comments for the end, Andrej? Okay, guys. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments, dear guests. Thank you, Andrej, for this great presentation and useful tips. This is, so as we already mentioned, this is the first webinar in the series of webinars that we are going to present you and share with you next year. So this was the introduction to the series, and after the holidays, we suggest to have the next topic, how to choose the right successor in the family